Here I am with a fuel tank selector valve off a 1988 Ford F150. And I made a previous video about this. The reason I made the previous video is because I had a leak right here in the top flange. There's an O-ring that fits right here. It gets sandwiched between the cap and the face of this flange. And the reason this is spare parts now is because this nipple broke off. It actually lodged in the fuel line when I was removing this from my truck. But I decided to make another video and completely disassemble this because I haven't seen much information about these, and the information I've seen has been on truck forums. It's a little hard to find, but they can be disassembled. I've never disassembled this one. I'm going to try during this video. So we'll get going. The top comes off. It's pretty straightforward with a 1/4-inch nut driver. And I've got my baking sheet here because this could have some gasoline left in it. It's been sitting in my shed for a couple of years now, and when I took it off the truck, I'm pretty sure I dumped most of the gasoline out, but if you're working around gasoline, be aware there are hazards, you know, as far as flammability. So this is the part I took off before in the previous video. I just took the cap off, and because I wanted people to see where that small O-ring goes that was causing the issues. So the cap comes off pretty easily. And actually, since this thing has been sitting, the diaphragm actually kind of sealed itself to the top cover. But and there's actually a screw missing. That must have been the way I left it. There would normally be a Phillips head screw right here. You would just take that Phillips head screw out. And then there's the flange, or the diaphragm. So these tabs twist lock clockwise onto the tops of these two pistons. So if you set it on there and you line them up, you can just snap it into place. And then to get it back off, you turn it counterclockwise and it comes off. This is as far as I went in the last video. This O-ring right here by my index finger, right there, that is where my leak was. So when I put this all back together and put it on my truck, gasoline would seep out while the truck was running. So I took it back off, and that O-ring was completely missing. It's not a very big O-ring. It's only, you can see it right there. It's very small. I'm gonna pop it out of there, and whoop, there it is. It's pretty small. Now I don't have to reuse this, so I can be. You want to be careful. You know, I have a new one on my truck, and this one has the broken nipple. So, but I do want to save this for spare parts, so I'm not just going to completely rip it apart, you know, any old way. I'm going to try to carefully pop these. They kind of look like wagon wheels around here. They're snap rings, and I've read online that they're removable, so I'm going to try to pry them out with a small screwdriver. We'll see how this goes. A pick would definitely be a better tool to use in this case, but this is a really small screwdriver, so it's probably going to get the job done. And you can see they're kind of coming up, like they're kind of maintaining pressure against the side of the molding here, but they're slowly coming up. And there's one. There's one of them. So I'm going to try to keep these organized. Kind of lay them in a line here on my paper towels. And I'll work on this other one, prying it up. Just kind of working my way around, being careful with it. And there it is. Now, to be honest, I've never been this far into one of these, so I'm not sure exactly what's next. Okay, so if you saw what I did there, I just took this screw. I didn't really force it into the threads of this center piston. I just screwed it in there a little bit to get a grip on this, and this is coming out. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up on it. And that's that piston. It's threaded here because it holds this diaphragm in. So let's see. I believe this center part right here, I believe it'll come out with a little persuasion. I'm going to go right here, right in this space right here, and try to gently pry it up on it. This has been sitting for a while, so it could be kind of gummed up with gasoline. It could be kind of glued in there. So just kind of looking around this, where the retaining clips were, where the pistons are, trying to find a way to get this apart. Okay, so since I can't get any of these parts to move, I've removed the center piece, and I've removed these locking rings, snap rings. So I can't really get any of this to move. It's probably gummed up with old gasoline. I went ahead and I got my oil filter wrench, and I got it on here to get some leverage, and it came off, it broke loose, turning counterclockwise. On some of these trucks, this is where a fuel filter would be. I don't believe 1988's had a fuel filter. We'll be getting ready to find out for sure here. Anytime you buy a used truck, you don't know what exactly you got, so. Okay, so that's what that looks like inside, and there is some residual gasoline in there. And let's see, somewhere here, there should be an O-ring. Actually, I read online that Ford instructions say do not remove this. And the reason being, there's a gasket or O-ring somewhere here that once you remove it, it's prone to leaking. I don't actually see the O-ring, unless that's it right in the bottom here. Yeah. Maybe that's it. Yeah, I can feel one right in the bottom here, I believe. Let me see here. Yes, there's an O-ring right here where the tip of my screwdriver is, right around the, it's all black. It's hard to see, but there is an O-ring in there. I'm not going to work too hard to get it out. There it comes. It's right here. So, from what I've read online, this is the reason not to take the bottom bowl off of one of these on the 1988 model, because there's no filter in here, so there's no reason to remove it. And once you do, this O-ring is apt to leak. So that's that part of it. I was hoping by removing that bottom cup that I could access the something that would allow me to further disassemble this top section. So I'm going to pause the video again to see if I can figure a way to get these out of here. And I did. I figured the way. I just took a pair of channel locks and gripped this assembly right here. So this was in the same position this is in right here. And I just gripped it like this and pulled out on it. And like I said, I don't have to put this back in my truck, so I'm not super concerned with being that delicate with it, but maybe if you're trying to actually repair yours and reuse it, you want to take some additional steps, like maybe soaking some stuff in WD-40. But so far, I don't think I've severely damaged anything here. I can see a small snap ring around the top of this. A C-clip, actually. It's right, let's see, where's my small screwdriver? It's right there. My screwdriver is resting on it. I'm using my cell phone to film this, so it's not a real good camera, but I'm going to try to push that C-clip off there. Which is, it's pretty small. And then I can see that under it there's an O-ring. This is where a pick would come in handy. With these small parts, just have to be patient. There, I got it moving. And there it went. And that, my friends, is a lesson in spring and C-clip disassembly. Don't do what I did. Here's the spring. So I'm laying these in a line here on my paper towel. There's the plastic, I guess you would call it, shuttle portion. And I'm pretty sure this metal plate is removable from the top. The metal plate is where my pinky is. That metal plate right there. That's what you're looking at. So I'm pretty sure, yeah. So the metal plate comes off. And there's another O-ring. So that O-ring went in this groove right here. And then the metal plate was on top of it. And there's these little plastic nubs to kind of align that metal plate. Okay, I'm going to pause the video again to find my C-clip and my other O-ring. Okay, so here's the C-clip. I do not see the O-ring. I'm not going to look for it right now. It's here somewhere. But that's an important lesson in taking these apart. You have to really watch, because I'm still missing two parts from this piston. So if I were rebuilding this to put back in my truck, I wouldn't have a way to replace those parts. So I'll take the second one apart here and try not to make that same mistake. So I just took my channel locks here and got a grip on the top of that piston, and pulled it and it came out. I'm also scraping around the sides here a little bit with my screwdriver just to try to clear some of the gunk off it that might be holding it in place. Sometimes stuff like this just doesn't come out easily. It's also possible that there's a better way to do this that I'm not aware of. I'm going to try to scrape around the edge of it there. This is a plastic housing, so I'm just gently, I'm trying not to dig into the actual plastic. I'm just trying to remove some of the gunk there that might be keeping this thing from moving. Nope. It is not coming out. So let me pause this again, try to figure something out. Okay, well, I didn't really have to do anything other than channel locks, but it's just difficult to pull these out once they're seated in and, you know, been in there for years. It's just difficult. So just be aware of that and be as gentle with it as you can, I guess. So now I'm going to repeat the process of removing that C-clip, which I don't know if my phone's actually focusing very well, but you can kind of see the C-clip right, let's see, right there. Right where my screwdriver is actually resting in the opening of the C-clip. And then under the C-clip, you can see a blue O-ring. And actually before the blue O-ring, there's a flat washer. So it goes C-clip, flat washer, blue O-ring, and then a cup that it all sits in. Maybe if I separate it like that, you can see it better. So let me try to get that moving without losing it like I lost the other one. I would say if you do end up needing to replace these parts, obviously, make sure you purchase parts that are gasoline, you know, resistant, rated to be used around gasoline. So while I was doing that, this plate came off the other side, which it's supposed to. It just, like I showed you on the other one, there's an O-ring here. That this plate holds on. So I'm going to lay it over here with the other one. Now I'm to the point where last time my spring got the best of me. So I'm going to try not to let that happen. I'm going to hold the spring back with my finger and thumb. I'm going to go ahead and try to take this C-clip the rest of the way off. These things are pretty small. Take a little bit of patience. There's an O-ring there, so I definitely don't want to damage it. Okay, so that time I held the pressure from the spring, right? So it goes C-clip, which is, well, I'm losing that pressure. Goes C-clip, which is very small. Whoop, and I dropped it. very small parts here. So it goes C-clip, washer, then this blue O-ring, then this cup, which the spring pushes on. So the side that's facing left on the screen is down into the spring. And then the spring comes out. Whoop. And then this pulls out of the black shuttle. I'm calling it a shuttle. I don't know if that's its official name or not, but, and you can see, let's see, was that on the other one also? Well, I just found my other piece of my other one here. Here's my other cup from the one that flew apart. I got lucky and it just fell down. Okay, so I'm doing more than one thing here at once, but under the cup, so you had C-clip, washer, blue O-ring, cup, spring, right? And then under that spring, actually, is another cup and another O-ring. So that it's not the one that flew apart. It's a separate one. So it's that cup and that O-ring. Getting confusing yet? And then that piston pulls out and there's an O-ring inside the shuttle. So the O-ring, this O-ring is inside the top of the shuttle, and the piston goes right up through there, and the O-ring goes on it like so. So then this is the end of the shuttle where this retaining clip went. Actually, this went first. This went on, then this retaining clip held it. So when you pull that out, you can see that O-ring kind of fits right in the top of the shuttle. So you can see these parts, you can see what it's like to take it apart. Let me see if I can arrange these and show you a picture of how they came out in case you lost track. Let's see, the star retaining clip, I call it a star. Then the flat washer, the O-ring, the shuttle. And what I'm doing right now, arranging these, it's available on some forums I've been on. I'm going to pause the video for another minute while I arrange these, so I'm not wasting your time. Okay, so I got these arranged in a logical way. All right, so here's how they go. Let's see if I can get this. If I can get where you can see the same thing I'm seeing. So I'm going to have to reverse the camera here real quick. So let's see. Here's the assembly order of this. All right, so there's the snap ring that we took off. The first thing we did, one of the first things we did. There's the metal washer and the O-ring that fit on top of this. That was facing up. You can see right here where my thumb is, there's a space for that O-ring right there. So that's on top of this. Now in the bottom of this, let me see if I can get an angle with some light in there. There is this O-ring right here. So it would be right where my finger is, because this slides in that way. Then you would have that cup, the spring, the other cup, and this is the part that flew off when I was taking the first one apart. So it goes, the cup sits right there, then the spring, then the other cup, then the washer, then the small O-ring, then the snap ring. Snap ring goes right there. So that's how it's assembled, and you can see the parts. And I'm going to pause the video one more time because I never got the center of the selector valve out, and I think that comes out. I think that very center piece, I could be wrong, but I think it comes out. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm going to call this video part 1 of the complete disassembly of this fuel tank selector valve. And the reason there's going to have to be 2 parts is because this needs to be soaked in oil or WD-40 something, because I'm pretty sure this center section is removable. I don't want to damage this, even though the housing, the body is no good because that nipple broke off. I might need these parts in the future, so I don't want to just tear it apart. But I am almost certain that I've seen on some of the forums that this center section comes out, but this has been sitting for a couple of years and it's pretty gummed up. Also, right in the bottom, after I removed the cup, there's a piece that goes in here. It's still in there. And this O-ring was in there. So those are things that are going to have to be talked about in another video, because I need to soak this so it'll come the rest of the way apart. So thanks for watching.